game is like the thing I'm gonna talk about mostly, but we're not gonna neglect everything else. Because at the end of the day, I just want you to be the most attractive and confident version of yourself and know how to communicate yourself in the most high value way possible. That's what I help men with. And that's why I wouldn't tell a guy to be goofy. I wouldn't tell a guy to, hey, use this corny pickup line because to me, that's not the highest value way to open a girl. And I don't want someone to have bad habits. I will teach you the highest value way to present yourself and build you into the highest value version of yourself possible. It's those two things. It's actually becoming as high value as you possibly can, and it's also knowing how to present yourself in the most high value way possible with the right communication and the right game. These are the two pillars of game, in my opinion, which is like basically how attractive are you just fundamentally, like the way you look, your money, the way you speak, the way you carry yourself, status. That's like one pillar. And then the second pillar is your actual game and communication. Like actually what you're doing technically with the girl and knowing how to lead and knowing all these things that guys have no idea what's going on. This is how I view my game. It's like two pillars.
Now,
That's
Sergio,
interesting to take us down, actually. So Denton also mentioned how he perceives the pillars of game. Can each of you guys straight up just tell us like how many pillars of game in your, there's no wrong answer, of course, but it's your perspective. And it's actually something that I have my own version of as well. So could you, all of you guys give your versions of this?
pillars of game, yeah? So, like, we're talking levels to it, or what are you looking for?
I'll start with my example. So because I get images for this, but I'm gonna screen share. I normally hate to screen share doing these things, but here we go. This is on gameglobal.net/pillars of game. And this is my version of the pillars of game. So I say there are five pillars of game, but there are different ways to understand this. So there are four pillars of outer game, and then there's inner game. So inner is just conveniently in the middle. Here's another way of looking at it. So there's inner game as a pillar by itself that has a lot of subsets, random words you can throw in there. But if we focus more on primary game and secondary game itself, the four pillars of outer game, excluding inner game. Then there's day game, night game, social circle game, and message game. Message game encompasses messaging, online dating, and social media. Effectively, it's not, there some people use the term text game and things like that, online game, whatever. My perspective, online game is Minecraft. That's video games and shit. Message game is marketing. If you're using Instagram, I just reached 16,000 followers this week. That's part of my virtual presence. And the ultimate difference is that primary game is your physical presence and secondary game is your virtual presence. So message game effectively being secondary game itself represents your virtual presence. You leave the house, you do some day game, you do some night game, a bit of social circle game. That's primary game according to how I see it. And social circle game sits in the middle because you can easily convey social circle game and concepts like pre-selection and social proof through not only social media, but you can also do that through online dating too. So that's a little breakdown of mine. I'll quickly run through like some minor basics here, but there are also combinations you could do. So, for example, yeah, just like I explained, message game leads into social circle game. You could get some Instagram models with millions of followers just follow you randomly, and you can integrate them into your social circle. And you can do the reverse. You can integrate your social circle into your message game, your virtual presence. And then another example, perhaps, anyone you meet from day game, you can put them in your social circle, but you can't exactly cold approach someone in your social circle. So that's more of a one-dimensional way that goes. But night game, if you're utilizing social circle game in a night setting, that goes both ways. Those are just some examples. But if you guys have your own versions, I would love to hear from those because these are genuinely interesting.
I would love to stand here and argue with you, but honestly, I got nothing to argue about. I agree. Cold game, night game. Cold game, night game, social circle game, and text game. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like so I mean, dude, because game is so complex, there's so many different like you could technically like have a bunch of different pillars, I think, to it. What I think the way that I try to describe things to my clients is pretty much most of what I do. I do help with like text game and stuff because I have pretty good structures for text game. Because just in my opinion, like good text game is basically just good verbal game in person, but you have more time to think about it. Like that's really like the main difference. Like you're setting frames, you're doing kind of all the same stuff. Um, if I was gonna break it down, I would say that there's maybe three pillars for kind of how I think of things. And this is all just like leading to attraction of women, getting dates, setting things. So it's going to be obviously like the self-improvement stuff, which is, going to the gym, doing things that are good for you, building a business. I actually don't personally think that I'm not getting really much better results now that I have money versus before. I don't think the money actually is what makes you more attractive. It's more like most men have the desire to make money. And if I feel like I'm making progress in that, I'm going to feel good about myself. I saw a really interesting clip the other day. I actually reacted to it on my Instagram where a guy was talking about attractive, like evolutionary triggers. And one of the most attractive evolutionary triggers he was talking about was honest signals that you will have future resources. So future resources is very important. So I've had times in my life where I've been playing like World of Warcraft all day, but I'm working on the side at like a marketing agency. So I'm like learning skills and I'm also very good at World of Warcraft. So I thought potentially I could start making money like doing that or playing Counter-Strike or like being a pro gamer. So I had like these character traits of someone that is going to be successful, like being ambitious, all of those things. And I think that's more like the self-improvement stuff, which is actually getting you to the point where you have momentum. I feel like momentum is so much more attractive than actually having this stuff. Because I've worked with guys that, I mean, I have clients right now that have way more money than me. They're way more successful. Their net worth is probably like 10, 20 times what mine is. And these guys are they're very shy. Like, I was in Miami in February, and there was a guy I was kind of I was helping him with like a photo shoot and stuff. And one of the guys that was on the photo shoot sold his company. His share was like 150, 200 million. And I approached a girl like while we were kind of like hanging out. And it was just like a very short conversation, got her number. It was very quick. And he was like, dude, how do you even do that? Like, how do you do that's crazy. Like, I could never do that. And so I feel like the actual resources don't, make it easier to maybe like get help, get coaching, or, you have access to more things, like more cool stuff to do. But that's like kind of pillar one is like kind of how you feel, not even just how you feel about yourself, but like actual momentum. Am I actually making progress in my life? And then there's the next pillar, which is I would say the subcoms or like sub communication of like how do I show up? Do I fucking when I talk to a girl, am I doing this the whole time? Because I'm like freaking out. I'm like really nervous. Am I breaking eye contact submissively? Do I have all these like submissive behaviors or I have more like dominant, confident behaviors? Do I have a lot of filler words? What's my rate of speech? Like when I'm talking right now in like a like coach mode, I'm talking way faster and more with like authority than I would talking to a girl where it's more like relaxed and playful. So how do I actually show up like the sub communication? And then the other aspect would be like, what do you actually say and like the framing of the conversation? So like, where am I taking the conversation? And that kind of breaks down into like verbal game. So verbal escalation, being able to sexualize verbally, which I think is way more important than physical escalation. Every guy, like, how do I physically escalate, bro? It's like you should have girls talking about wanting to have sex with you before you even kiss them. Like you could really do that. And it's also a lot like just generally if you're worried about like girls making up false shit about you, it's a lot safer to do it that way anyway. Focus on like verbal escalation. Then there's like logistical escalation, like how do I move things smoothly so that I can get in a room alone with the girl so that things are more likely to happen. And then there's also like actual physical escalation. Like, how do I physically escalate in a way that makes her feel like comfortable, but also gets her turned on and isn't too much? Like when you lean in to kiss her for the first time, like leaning in to kiss her, pulling away at the last second, be like, wait, not yet, like chill the fuck out. Like that kind of stuff is really like important. So I think the the actual structure of the interaction, the uh subcoms, like kind of how you carry yourself, and then the self-improvement aspect. But I think a lot of that, it's not just mental. You do actually have to be making progress. But even if you're, I would actually say that a guy on the self-improvement stuff, a guy is, if he's kind of shitty but making a lot of progress, is better in that aspect than a guy that is successful and in good shape, but he's stagnant in everything in his life. So I know Sergio, you want to talk. I've been ranting, so.
Yeah, I just wanted to really quickly say we all have
Sergio,
these.
I go next.
Okay, cool. We all have these principles, right? But you didn't really specify what you mean by by the pillars of game. Because what you show me different ways to get leads. That's what Ice White presented to us.
Mm.
And Tim is talking about principles of game. I I said what I said about principles also, but I didn't say what I thought was like the lead, like the funnels. But this is my final answer very quickly. If you're asking me what is like the funnel, like the structure of game, like in like an order like this, I view it like you attract, you seduce, and you retain. These are like the three things you can do. If you're asking me what are the pillars of game, like in other words, where does the theory come from? Like if we had to like go to the absolute top, it's attraction, comfort, escalation. That's the way I view game. It's like this is like the theory. Everything comes from these 3 points, the pillars. And in terms of like game itself, how does it work? It's like what we attract, we can attract them online dating, we can attract them in person, we can attract them in night game, we can attract them social circle. We seduce, right? We bring it forward somewhere. We can get a pull and close at night game. We can go on a date with a girl, and then after the third day, she becomes our girlfriend. And then we retain. Either we have a rotation, if that's what you want, a fuck buddy, a girlfriend, a wife. I see like this is like the structure of game, and then the other thing, what I said is the pillars. That's how I view it. And I'm really, really ready to debate anybody on this. This will be a really good
Nah, I mean, I like what you said. Honestly, it's a pressure breath. It's a breath of fresh air. Also, Tim, when you said your one of your people that you knew made 200 million, I was like, damn, that could have been a nice little client right there. Let me get 1 million, you're set for life. But it's all good. Denson, did you go and like pour a shot while you were gone? I saw them bottles in the back.
No, that's just for from past like bringing people over and shit like that. I actually grabbed a Red Bull. I'm
What
nocturnal
was
from the
this?
job. So I'm not usually up this time. I usually wake up at around 2. But Ice has been trying to get me on for a while, and I'm like, I cannot not show up for this. I'd feel like such a dick if I didn't. So I'm pounding down this Red Bull right now, trying to wake up. Um, but yeah, I mean, like, you guys had some good points. I don't know. Honestly, I feel like okay, so for me personally, I almost feel like at times attraction and comfort are things I teach clients, specifically teach them lessons, but something I don't even use myself anymore. I used to use it a lot when I was younger. Like I mean, originally, like I started when I was like 18. I started on mystery method. I used to go to the universities, the colleges. There's an 18 up club that I used to sneak into. Um, and Yeah, nowadays, like I found that being authentically myself has a way of building comfort and attraction. And so let me explain. Uh, Comfort is just like sometimes I'll like focus on comfort and I'll explain to a client whenever I talk to like when he's talking to a girl that might be shy. Like with a girl that's shy, you probably wouldn't want to be like, super flamboyant or super out there or anything like that. But just by being yourself consistently over a period of time, I feel like it has almost like a weight to it where one you can almost put her into your masculine energy or playful energy, but number two, if you're authentic, you're going to build comfort naturally. It's when a girl feels like you're being disingenuous or you're trying to get like some kind of you're not being upfront about your intent in some way, where I feel like there's some problems. With me, I don't know. With you guys mentioned your pillars. Uh,
Can I
Here,
challenge? Can I challenge what you just said? Is that possible?
Sure.
Very cool. Okay, you said that losing comfort happens from not being yourself, right?
Uh, that's the hard thing about the whole attraction comfort thing. It's not really so much that it's there's a lot of different like ways that I think that comfort can be expressed, like in like
Uh-huh.
terms. It's not like a really easy to understand definition. I've heard so many different coaches over the years explain it. Comfort can be that. Comfort can be making a girl feel like you are who you say you are. That you are also somebody that isn't going to screw her over. You're also somebody that basically you're not a threat.
Yeah, trust. I think comfort is trust. I think that's the easiest way to like digest what it means is trust. And the other challenge I have for you is you said you don't use this anymore, right? Attraction, comfort, escalation. You don't use this anymore. What do you use? Because to me, everything comes from one of these pillars. Everything. Everything. And I want to hear what is a technique or what is a thing you do that isn't in one of these three pillars. I'm curious.
Being valuable. I
That's
mean,
attraction. That's attraction.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I don't really see the point for comfort personally. Like I've never like okay, so if you're talking to a 10 or a 9 or an 8, I don't think the chances that she's not going to be comfortable around you are it's usually like I don't really have to worry about comfort for more attractive girls. Usually the comfort's something that I'd have to do to supplicate to a girl that feels like I'm out of her league.
Yeah, so when you're dating a 10, right? Don't you think after a long period of dating a 10, she needs to slowly trust you more and more that you have good intentions for her if you want her to be your girlfriend, for example? Wouldn't you call that comfort and connection?
Okay, you're talking about long term?
Well, I'm just talking about game in general. I don't view
Okay,
game as
yeah.
like
I
just
mean
play.
more in like the terms of like your client goes and approaches a girl and then he has to act more like a pussy to get
Right,
her into him. I don't really
right.
see like that being a thing. Actually, I find that the more all right, like if a guy is like being way too like we've had clients like this that are like really fresh where they're intermediates and they start getting into this and they put a really heavy emphasis on attraction, they completely ignore comfort. That's usually when I'll kind of like pigeonhole it in and I'll start explaining to them like, hey, you don't have to try so hard. You can like be a little more chill at times. You don't always have to be like, bam, bam, bam. Sometimes you can slow the conversation down, have real like, getting to know you questions,
Mhm.
um, having more casual conversations. It doesn't always have to be this flashbang in the pot. But after that, I don't really ever have to teach clients it really.
Yeah,
I
I view.
like it's something rarely that I ever have to teach a client on a boot camp and get them results. Like it's not like, hey, the last thing you have to figure out is comfort. Usually like every guy has some kind of semblance of that. I've it seems like something that's kind of like a something that's kind of like leftover from like mystery method. Which mystery method, I mean, it has some good points to it, but I don't agree with everything with mystery method. I actually probably say I agree with only probably 30% of it.
What's the
And
biggest
then
thing you disagree with? My
oh,
bad.
and
You go ahead.
my, I was gonna say, Denson, don't worry, I got your back. It looks like Sergio's busting on your balls a little too much, so I got something to say about Sergio. That thought that you brought earlier about the whole skip the we're allowed to curse on here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
fuck it.
So
Doesn't fucking matter. The fuck you talking about?
okay, so we're allowed to like skip the bullshit and like enough of these canned lines. I'm teaching you how to be a genuine, I'm skipping all the bullshit. Just do this because that's what high value is. I like that thought process, but also I really do believe that you can't just teach a person to use a fork and knife because it's the right thing to do when you're eating. You got to teach them why we're using it, the meaning behind it. That being said, yeah, maybe you'll skip some time. Maybe you'll save some time by teaching them, all right, do this because do the high value way. I'm not teaching you the other value ways. It's either my way or the highway. But, you know, I think there is value mentally, emotionally, in the ability to have your early 1 to 2 years where you're going out gaming, practicing canned lines for at least the first 6 months, doing the bullshit, because you become more genuine as a person throughout that journey, and you get to figure out who you are as a person and grow past that. Um, there's beauty in growing past something compared to just skipping that whole journey in general and never even experiencing it to begin with.
Yeah, well, something I want to say real quick is that I don't teach my clients comfort. I actually view comfort like a very advanced, deep topic. Like, it's not something I'll talk about too much. I'm a lot more practical with my clients. I'll tell them exactly what to do and then slowly give them feedback and then push them further and further along the process. I'm not gonna sit down with them and be like, hey, this is the theory of game. Here's like 3 hours of mystery method, this, all that. I'm not gonna do that because it's pointless. But if we're talking about what is the three principles like theory of game, I still believe it's attraction, comfort, and escalation. And to say comfort is like something not important is just false because comfort is trust. And the girl needs to have trust in you. And maybe Denton, for you, it's not too important because you come off like a cool guy. You have good nonverbal communication. And most girls you talk to just automatically don't think you're some kind of crazy threat. But not everybody's in that position. And the way I view comfort, another way to view it, because even if you're this cool guy, right? Even if you're a cool guy, if I were on a date with a girl, for example, and you told me comfort didn't matter, right? If comfort didn't matter, then that means theoretically, if I were to over-escalate on her, that wouldn't hurt the interaction anyway. But it would.
Okay.
Over-escalation would hurt the interaction. I view over-escalating, for example, as something that hurts comfort, hurts trust. And thus, comfort and trust is obviously something you need to have sex with a girl, to see a girl multiple times, to be a high value person, not to be a high value person, to have game. It's part of game. It's trust, attraction, and moving things forward, escalation.
So I do want to ask everybody in this chat or in this live stream something real quick. And these days, from all your clients, everyone that you've seen, you think there's a majority lack of comfort or a majority lack of attraction?
Majority
when-
lack of attraction and escalation, but comfort is a part of game, and that's just you can't say it's not a part of game.
Yeah.
Maybe,
I feel like
maybe it just bridges the gap there, just like Sergio was saying.
yeah, the way that I view comfort is it's less, and I'm glad that Sergio said that he doesn't really actively teach it because I think it is one of those things where most guys, when you start out, you probably have too much comfort. You probably come off like a pussy. You probably come off scared, and there's way too much. She's way too comfortable around you because she's like, oh, this kid's like he's a little lost puppy dog, and that's how she views you. As you get better and you're more intermediate, like Dent was saying, I think that's when it becomes more of an issue of comfort. Like you start doing all this gamey shit. Everything you say is like the right thing to say. It's really smooth. I was just reviewing some like dating app texts with one of my clients yesterday, and like every text was like 2 or 3 sentences. It was all really written out and it was funny and it was like perfectly like witty and shit. And I was like, bro, you need to cut this down and do it in a shorter way so it comes off more real because there's comfort missing there. So as you get like more gamey or like get better at game or Riz or whatever, this is where I feel like Riz, like the POV Riz stuff actually does hurt you because you're
Right.
just focused on like how do I be the sickest fucking dude she's ever talked to? Like, oh my God, I'm saying all this cool stuff. That's when it comes off weird. So the way that I view comfort is it's not even really a word that I use that much when I'm coaching. But when it does come up, it's like it's more like the way that I think about game when I'm in an interaction, or like say that I'm talking to a girl at a bar and I'm 10 minutes into the interaction, I'm less thinking about like, okay, what's the next step I have to do? I'm more thinking like, what's like the one thing that could definitely go wrong in this? It's like I feel like I'm building a lot of attraction. I feel like, all these things are checked, but maybe comfort is missing. Like I'll just ask myself, like, is comfort something that I'm missing rather than I need to build it? Because comfort will, like Dent was saying, kind of just build over time, like as she spends time around you. Though if she starts saying things like, oh, I don't know, like you're so like you must get all the girls, like that kind of stuff, then it's like, okay, cool. Maybe I say like I don't know, like a slightly funny, embarrassing story about me when I was like 18 or something. I like tell some story that gives her some background about who I am as a person. Or one thing that I did when I got like really like pretty good at game, but I was still kind of like just like playing video games, trying to be like a pro gamer, is like I would just talk about that I played video games a lot, like semi-professionally or whatever. And like it's kind of lame, it's kind of nerdy, but because I'm talking about it in a confident way, and like I've already built up a lot of high value kind of in her mind, like built some attraction, it kind of builds more comfort, like, oh shit, okay, this guy is like he has like texture to him. There's layers to this guy. He's not just like this cool epic dude.
Something I want to say, because I think you said something really cool that I think we could all chime in on, which is your mindset when you're gaming, right? You said that your mindset is what's the worst thing that can go wrong, right? I find this very interesting because I also have a mindset when I'm gaming a girl, when I'm talking to a girl. And if I had to tell you what's the most like number one thing to me is you kind of have two options at any given moment. You can either build value or you can use the value you have. It's either you make money or you spend it. Anything you do is in one of these categories. So actually, when I said attraction, comfort, escalation, you could actually make it even smaller into attraction, escalation. And comfort could be viewed as escalation. Because if I'm really high value, I can start asking you a bunch of questions and creating comfort with you because you view me as high value. It actually works. If I'm super high value, I can give you a really dumb background story about myself and it makes me come off more genuine and real and actually helps the interaction, right? But if I'm not high value, or better said, if I'm not high perceived value in the woman's eyes, my focus needs to be to build value, right? So I view game as you either build value, aka raise your capital, or you use your value, you expend the capital you have. To me, it's like these are the two things you can do at any given moment, and that's game in like the quickest summary I can possibly do it.
So I'm actually beginning to see a pattern here. Like identities and mentalities for everyone on this live stream. And for me, I definitely didn't mention this earlier, but the biggest thing that I preach is presence. The idea of being in the moment and the idea of understanding why you're in that moment to begin with, the things that led up to that point, and whether you do wrong and completely blow out the set, or whether you do right, what was the right in that? Um, that being said, I do like some things that Tim said earlier about the whole like always analyzing the set, the conversation, and seeing what am I missing? Is it a lack of comfort, a lack of attraction? Um,
You know what's funny? I just want to say I don't like that mindset because it's a little bit negative.
well, hold on,
And
hold on,
and
hold on.
imagine, just want to say,
Yeah,
maybe not for you, Tim, because you're very confident, but for somebody who's, like a beginner, if he's thinking, what am I missing? He's probably going to get super in his fucking head. It might be going well, and then he's like, wait, what am I missing? What am I missing? So that wouldn't be the right mindset for the beginner. The beginner just needs to think, next step, next step, next step. That's what he should think.
well, Sergio J. Chavez. I I wasn't finished talking. I mean, I like to bring him up before I bring him down. And what I was gonna say was, yeah, I do like your mentality on that. Napoleon, famous leader, he would envision his battles and how he would lose them 40, 50 times before he would win them, and he won all of them except like five or whatever. Don't fact check me on that last number, but the mentality, correct. But that being said, the biggest thing I preach is presence, living in the moment. And I definitely would not want to be in a conversation with a girl and think, oh no, the comfort's going down. I need to spike comfort or throw a little attraction in there. It kind of takes away from the moment that you're sharing with another human being and that you're there in whatever environment, you know. Um, but it does help different people throw,
Yeah, I think let me clarify more of what I mean. So when I'm in the interaction, it's more like I'm my cat's in the shot now. So when I'm in the interaction, it's less about what can go wrong and more about like what are the steps or the next steps that I haven't added yet. So like you could think about it like, what am I missing? And then you could get in your head about it and be like, oh my God, I have to do this. Comfort's going down, attraction's going down. Like I have to do this. Um, but I think it is really helpful to have in your mind, like, okay, these are the five check boxes that have to get checked in this interaction. Say if it's a night game interaction and I'm trying to pull, right? Like that's like probably what's going to happen. Maybe she's like only in town for tonight or whatever, and like that's really the only way this is going to go anywhere. So I have to think like, have I met her friends and gotten her friends on my side yet? Have I like what are the things that I need to do in the interaction? Because what I've noticed a lot is guys will get into interactions, and I agree, this actually isn't great for like beginners, right? Just complete beginners. You've made 10, 15 approaches. But if you're getting into 20 or 30-minute interactions with a girl, you do really want to start thinking like, what do I need to do in order to uh, like move this forward and escalate? Because if I don't think about that, I know a lot of guys will sit in these 30-minute interactions where they're just like flirting with the girl and they're vibing and stuff, and they're not moving it forward at all. And then they'll be confused, like, why did oh, she went to the bar and she never came back. She went to the bathroom, she never came back. It's like, yeah, because you guys were flirting, maybe you kissed or something, but there were just like a bunch of things that were going to keep her from going home with you or wanting to see you again that you didn't address. And so you have to start thinking about like, okay, like the interaction's going well. The next step is going to be get her to chase or get her to qualify, or, I need to make sure that logistically there's nothing in the way. Like, what are her plans tonight? logistically, like how do I actually get into a situation where I could like go home with the girl, like make something happen?
You know, Tim, really quick point to know on what you said, because for any audience that is watching this live stream, and they probably know a little bit about us, a little bit about you, about everybody here. I think some people are under the impression that we um never get rejected or rejection doesn't matter to us. But I am curious. Anybody could answer this, doesn't have to be everybody. You guys been in a moment where like a girl was you thought something was genuinely going good at a bar and the girl was like, "Hey, I gotta go to the bathroom," and you never saw her again?
Mhm.
Wait, has
Yeah,
that ever happened?
yeah. I'm just curious.
Bro,
Probably
yeah,
happened.
Yeah, it's
bro,
happened to
I
Yeah,
can't.
everyone.
I mean, yeah, it's probably happened. I can't remember the exact moment, but
yeah,
yeah, it's probably happened.
yeah. Like we're literally like all
yeah.
human. Like that stuff has happened to us so many times.